Over the last 2 decades, the scientific consensus on global warming has only grown stronger. Yet, despite clear evidence like diminishing sea ice and rising global temperatures, the percentage of people who believe the world is warming has actually declined. At the same time, unfounded conspiracy theories spread rapidly. These claims, ranging from flat Earth beliefs to Satan-worshipping cabals, frequently find public support from high-ranking elected officials. We assume we are rational creatures who weigh evidence equally, but test someone on a poignant advertisement they saw recently, and they often remember the emotional feeling of the message while forgetting the product's actual features. Persuasion follows a systematic process. To change a behavior, a message must clear 5 distinct cognitive hurdles. It has to be noticed, understood, believed, remembered, and finally acted upon. If a message fails to clear even one of those barriers, it has no effect. To protect our own minds, we must understand the precise mechanics used to bypass our logic. This flowchart illustrates the central route to persuasion. This pathway is active when an analytical audience carefully evaluates strong arguments, leading to enduring agreement. But we rarely have the energy to deeply analyze every claim. Distracted, we take the peripheral route, relying on unthinking heuristics, like a speaker's attractiveness, triggering acceptance without logic. Much of our consumer behavior is unthinking, which is why modern advertising focuses heavily on the peripheral route. Brands use attractive communicators and visual cues to trigger acceptance rather than providing deep technical data. Identifying which of these two routes a message targets tells us whether we are experiencing a permanent shift in our beliefs or a temporary emotional reflex. Initial acceptance of a message depends on how we perceive the speaker. We measure credibility through 2 specific variables: perceived expertise and trustworthiness. We read speakers as highly sincere when they openly declare a bias or argue against their own self-interest. Those seen as willing to suffer for their beliefs gain significant influence over our initial judgment. But this influence is temporary. This graph shows the sleeper effect, where a highly credible source's impact fades as the speaker is forgotten. Look at the second trend line. A non-credible source's impact actually increases over time once the unreliable messenger is forgotten. A speaker's origin matters most in the short term. Over time, the idea separates from its source and infects the mind on its own. Associating a message with good feelings lowers our cognitive defenses and increases positive thinking. This association encourages faster, more impulsive decision-making. This chart shows the results of an experiment by researcher Irving Janis. Subjects were significantly more convinced by a persuasive text when they were allowed to enjoy snacks and drinks while reading it. Messages can also use negative emotions to change behavior. Public health campaigns often use fear-arousing images, like graphic cigarette warning labels, to highlight the severity of health risks. This tactic fails if the fear is too intense. Unless the message immediately provides a clear, capable solution to the threat, the audience will simply tune it out. The success of a message depends on how well its emotional framing matches the cognitive pathway of the listener. Persuaders must decide whether to acknowledge opposing arguments. During World War II, researchers designed radio broadcasts to convince soldiers that the war with Japan would be a long struggle. They found a distinct interaction effect. A one-sided appeal works best on audiences that already agree with the message, while a two-sided appeal is more effective for an audience that is initially opposed. The method of delivery also dictates the strength of the outcome. Active experience creates stable, enduring attitudes, whereas passively receiving a message often leads to weaker, less confident beliefs. Passive media relies on fluency. Repeating a claim across different channels makes the statement easier for the brain to process, a familiarity we often mistake for truth. Even a brilliantly constructed message will fail if the argumentative structure doesn't match the audience's initial bias or the delivery channel. Human psychology does not follow simple rules. Persuasion relies on complex interaction effects, where the success of a tactic changes based on the context and the audience's state of mind. Persuasion itself is a neutral tool. It can be deployed as life-saving health education or as emotional, fear-exploiting propaganda that encourages hate. Studying the architecture of an appeal gives us agency over the information we consume every day. Mapping these hidden levers provides a cognitive defense. It allows us to recognize when our logic is being bypassed and intentionally choose what we believe.